Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to actually be in this event. Before I can actually talk about how to manage your finance, I would like to just give an introduction around who Sage is. So some of you may remember the name Softline, VIP, and Pastel. So those were some of the names that we used to be called by. And Sage is really a market leader in finance, as well as in payroll solutions. So I'm going to just take you through a little bit about our purpose. What is our purpose? So our purpose is to thrive, to ensure that businesses thrive, and so that we can help them to actually transform the way they think and how they do business. And our vision really is becoming a great SaaS company to support our customers as well as our colleagues. So we've got about three priorities that we focus on. We look at customer success, colleague success, and also innovation. And our customers are actually key in how we do our business, and as well as our colleague and how we innovate. So also just to take you through Sage South Africa. So we are the market leader in South Africa, and we take the majority shares in financial and payroll solutions. And our total market share in South Africa is about 51%. And in the financial space is about 56%, and payroll applications is about 64%. So we are actually the leader in that space. Who do we serve? So if you look at our customers, so we focus quite a lot on small businesses and not-for-profits. We look at medium business as well, and accountants. So just to take you through a little bit around small business. So we've got products that actually caters for our small business to ensure that our small businesses are actually focusing on some of the critical things that they need to focus on in their business. And we then assist with financial and payroll products that actually help them to thrive within their business. Medium space as well, we've got products that are actually tailored for medium businesses in order for those businesses to actually thrive. And I'll take you through some of those products, high level, not going too much into the details. Then we've got our accountants. So we've got our accountants and our bookkeepers. So we also service those customers. And our accountants really are also part of our business partner strategy. And they actually partner with you as a small business or a medium business to help you with your finances. So those are the customers that we serve. So let's look high level at our product. So our focus has been to become a cloud software company that provides a great service to our customers. And we've actually done that very well. So we've got a few products that are actually designed for our small business as well as our medium business. In the accounting space, for the small business, we've got Sage Business Cloud Accounting, and we also have Sage Business Cloud Payroll for the people and the payroll solutions. In the medium space, we've got Sage Intacct, Sage 300, as well as Business Cloud Payroll Professional. So those are the products that we actually offer to our customers within the small space and also the medium space. So if we are looking at small businesses like yourself, we look at the products Cloud Business Cloud and Payroll, and those are the products that we support for the small businesses. Talking a little bit about small businesses. So I'm sure quite a lot of presenters, they've been talking about the critical, how critical SMEs are to the economy and how they will actually grow the employment for the future. So what I'm just going to touch on quickly It's just around a few percentages that I've got on there, just to talk about the fact that our SMEs share of so SME share is about, to the GDP, it's about 39%, and SMEs share also to creating work, it's about 26%. So those are the stats that we're looking at. And what we are seeing as well is that SMEs are also going to be leading post COVID-19. So it's critical for us to focus on these businesses, because they will be growing the economy and also ensuring that we address unemployment. On this next slide, we talk about our brands. So these are some of the brands that you guys are aware of. I'm not going to focus too much on the brands, but what I want to highlight is that we've got a customer base of about 203,000 across Africa and also Middle East. And out of these businesses, 55% of these customers are actually small businesses. So it really shows that our small businesses are critical to how we do business. What I would like to touch on is just around the work that I actually focus on under transformation. So we've got skills development and enterprise development. And under there's quite a few projects that we've done as Sage to actually support people who are unemployed, to support with bursaries, also to support with socioeconomic development around the different initiatives that we do. But what I would like to focus on as well is small business development. Sage is big on development of small businesses. We have partnered with quite a lot of entities to actually ensure that we help develop these small businesses through different mechanisms, through the software that we actually use, through the grants, and in different ways that we can actually support these small businesses. So there is quite a lot of work that we do with different partners under enterprise development. Now let's get into the managing the finance. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm here for. So if we look at finances, I just want to highlight about 5 things or 5 mistakes that small businesses actually make. So we look at the first one, which is neglecting to budget. Most small businesses, they normally just say, you know something, we'll wing it, we'll just see how it goes. Let's see if we've got enough cash flow to actually take us through the month. But what I just want to highlight is that budget is critical for all businesses, and it's very important for small businesses to include all the expenses also, which includes your insurance and your taxes. It's also important to ensure that you budget for your employee salaries, and you also make sure that you don't actually do unnecessary wasteful expenditure. So your budget will actually help you to eliminate all that. Also, keep an eye on your variable expenses, expenses that changes on a monthly basis. It's important for you to actually look at that. And when you budget, you can save and, as I've mentioned, eliminate unnecessary expenses. Looking at not managing your cash flow, that's very important because you need to keep your cash flow needs to be linked to your budget, and you also need to look at the fact that you don't confuse your sales to your cash flow, because most businesses, they actually confuse the two because they've got a view that they've sold quite a lot of product or their service. They tend to count the sales instead of actually counting the cash flow. So it's important for you to ensure that you differentiate the two. Ensure your invoices are paid immediately, or ensure that immediately you put the orders out, because in most cases you find that small businesses, they take their time to actually send the invoices to the customers. They always delay it, and they'll say that we'll see it later, or we'll actually look at it closer to when we need to do payments. So that can actually be a huge challenge, because then you are impacting on your cash flow. You're not going to have enough money to actually pay for your suppliers, or to pay for your employees. So what I also want to highlight is that looking at the Sage products, you are actually able to invoice your customers. And the great thing about the product as well is that because it's in the cloud, you are able to do it on your laptop, you are able to do it on your phone, you are able to access your financials immediately and be able to be proactive so that you can do some of those invoices. The other thing that you need to just keep in mind is just looking around the tax changes, the regulations that are announced all the time, just for you to be able to know how is that going to impact your cash flow, or how is that going to impact your budget. So the next one that we look at is not saving for rainy days. So when we look at not saving for rainy days, we have seen it actually with COVID. What just happened just around COVID, people were actually, they didn't have enough savings because they had not saved for those rainy days. So it is ideal for a small business to actually have at least 3 times or 4 times cash flow, so that they are able to cover some of those expenses if there is a crisis or during rainy days. Another thing to look out for is you need to just ensure that you don't use your credit card to pay other debts, and you are unable to actually pay for that credit card, because then you are creating an actual bigger problem for yourself. So it is important to just ensure that you are covered for rainy days. When crises come, when COVID comes, you do have some of the money saved up for you to be able to cover that. Looking at waiting too long to secure funding, some of the small businesses, what they will normally do is when the business is doing well, even though they know they need the funding, they wait a little bit longer to actually say, we'll secure funding a little bit later, we'll secure funding a little bit later. But that can actually become a challenge, because at some stage, a little bit later might actually be those rainy days where things are not really going well. And I did see the presentation from Standard Bank around how you need to ask for funding. So what they also look at, they will look at your credit score to be able to see whether you are doing well. So if you wait too long, you might actually be disadvantaged, because at that time, you might, your cash flow might not be looking good, your balance might not be looking good, and you might not be able to get funding. The last one under the 5 mistakes is not being frugal. Most of the small businesses, what they will do is they want to start big immediately. We want to get the fancy office, we want to get the fancy this and the fancy that, which is not really necessary for a small business that's starting. So what businesses need to look at is, small business is maybe working from home or sharing an office up until you are able to get into that fancy office. Also, some of the things that you need to look at, instead of hiring expensive resources, it's always advisable to get people who are freelancers that will come, assist for certain time, and you pay them for that period, and you know that the cost of their resource doesn't sit with you. And also important, I've mentioned it again, it's important to invoice immediately, and ensure that you also use systems that will help you to be able to do that, or solutions that will help you to be able to receipt and invoice immediately, so that you don't have any financial issues. Looking at managing your finance during the pandemic, so there are 4 points that I have highlighted just under the The first one being assess the damage, reflect on your experience, review your strategy and operations, and the last one being what changed. So I will touch first on assessing the damage. So as we all know, it's been a tough time for small businesses. A lot of small businesses, they've had to change the way they do things, or they've had to adjust the way they do things. And it was a learning, not just for small businesses, but for all businesses across. So it is important that as we are still in the pandemic, also beyond the pandemic, we need to really do an assessment of what was the damage and how could we have actually ensured that this shouldn't have happened, or this shouldn't happen actually in the future. So looking at the first one, which is assess the damage. So how did the crisis affect your supply chain? Can you still source the same goods from same goods or services from the same providers? Because the impact might have been some of your suppliers, they're no longer in business. Some of your suppliers have increased their costs. So how does that really impact you as a business? The next one that we look at is what impact has the pandemic done on your offerings? So the business that you all used to offer. For example, if you were selling cakes, did you have a shop? How did it impact your offering? Did you have to actually do deliveries? What was actually that impact that the pandemic has actually caused? And then what you also need to look at is what do you need to downscale on? And what do you need to upscale on? The pandemic might have actually impacted also your workforce. So how are you going to actually operate? If you are operating with about 5 or 10 people, now you are expected to operate with 2 because of the pandemic and the impact on your business. How are you going to ensure that you still deliver the best service to your customers and ensure that you continue also to grow your business? Also looking at what will your cash flow look like as many expenses start to kick in when you start again your business, because you might actually find, as I mentioned, your suppliers have now become too expensive. Some of the things have changed and you need to adjust on that. What are some of those things that you need to look at? How quickly can you reactivate your sales and your marketing strategy? Has your cost base increased? And did this affect your profitability? And if it has affected your profitability, how are you going to get back on your feet in order for you to ensure that you continue to grow and you continue to support your customers? Looking at the second one, which is reflect on your pandemic experience. During the pandemic, you just need to also change, look quickly. What is it that has changed? From a business point of view, can you really adapt quickly? How did your team respond? What gaps did the pandemic reveal in the capacity, in their capacity as a team? So those are some of the things that you actually need to look at. If you transitioned to offer home delivery, what are the virtual services that you're providing? Are you getting profit out of those virtual services? Is it really yielding a profit in the way that you are actually starting to do things? Do you see a shift in how you were doing a business before? Is it going to be remote all the time? Do you think it's going to be permanently remote, or is it going to be a mix of two, whether you're going to be providing that service virtually or whether you're going to be providing it still physically? Those are some of the things that a small business need to look at. Has the technology changed? Do you need to do things differently? And we know with the pandemic, as we sit now, we would have been in sitting in an event, a facility or something like that. So now we are doing things virtually. How does that impact the small businesses, and how does it impact you as a small business? So those are some of the things that you need to look at. The other thing that you need to look at is to compare your performance with your industry peers. How are they performing? How are they doing? What is it that they're doing that's actually making them succeed in this difficult time? What is it that you can offer that's a little bit different that will actually enhance the way you are providing service, or how you can actually grow or actually get a profit out of the different way that you're doing things. The next one is assess what the changes are, also from a customer perspective. Your customers might have actually changed. So who are your customers today? Which customers did you retain? Which customers did you lose? And which customers did you gain? That is very important. And also to look at what has caused that gain during this pandemic time. What did you do differently that is actually called on for more customers? And also look at those that you have lost. What was the reason of actually losing those customers? The next one is what you've been meeting. So your expectation during your lockdown, how would you manage expectation better? So going forward, what will be some of the things that you will actually do differently? And then looking at the last one, which is review your strategy and your operations. So I think the pandemic has actually taught us quite a lot about how to do things, about our strategy, about how we've been servicing our customers. So the important thing is for one to actually sit and say, the strategy that I was using before COVID-19 or before a crisis, is it working? Does it need to be changed? And things like that. Because at the moment, for example, we don't know whether we're going to experience a third wave or a fourth wave. That is something that is unknown. So how do you then ensure that you plan for these uncertainties? Because at the moment, it's uncertain whether we go into a lockdown, whether we're not going into a lockdown. How are you going to ensure that you continue to sustain your customers and bring on strategies or plans that will ensure that you are not hit as much as you were hit in the first wave or the second wave? So what are some of those things that you are planning to do, and what is it that you would like to look at? So those are the points that we looked at under managing the pandemic. So just as a last note, I would also like to highlight from a small business point of view, it is very critical for you to manage your finances, as I've mentioned before. It is very critical for you to ensure that you understand your cash flow, you understand your budget, and finance becomes something that you have actually prioritized, and you actually sure that everything is going well. So what I also want to bring to your attention is that from a Sage point of view, we do offer small businesses or businesses 1 month trial on our accounting solution. So if you would like to actually do a trial and see how the system works, if it's something that you would like to do going forward, so that you can also start moving away from Excel, because at most cases you find that you can't remember where the information is or things like that. But it's always good to have a solution, a payroll or a finance solution that will actually help you to manage your finances. So with that, thank you so much.